everyone. The time is now 7 p.m. As City Manager for the City of Buchanan, I will hereby call this meeting to order. For those in attendance, we've recently had an election involving our city commissioners. As such, I will be leading the meeting until such time as a new mayor is selected amongst our newly elected and returning city commissioners. Before we begin, I would like to make some special recognitions. On behalf of the City of Buchanan, I hereby recognize and thank our City Clerk, Calla Langston, along with her entire team of dedicated election workers. Their hard work is enormously appreciated, and I hope that you will all join me in congratulating them on a well-run election. Thank you, Calla and team. For the second recognition this evening, on behalf of the City of Buchanan, I hereby recognize and congratulate our newly elected and re-elected city commissioners, Sean Dennison, Dan Viansky, and Mark Whedon. You have all been selected by members of your community to join Commissioners Larry Money and Patrick Swem to make up our new city commission for the City of Buchanan. As such, you are now entrusted with the sacred duty of leadership through service to your city and its people. May truth and wisdom guide you as you chart the course for Buchanan's bright future. Congratulations. Our City Clerk, Calla Langston, will now administer the oaths of office.
The three of you stand, please. Raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this state, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of office of City Commissioner in and for the City of Buchanan, County of Berrien, State of Michigan, according to the best of my ability.
I do.
Good deal.
It's official.
Thank you. And I hope everyone will now join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Dennison,
Here.
Whedon,
Here.
Bianski,
Yep.
Money,
Present.
Swem.
Here.
You have a quorum.
We're now to the section to approve the agenda. I'll make note that the city manager has made a recommendation to amend the agenda to remove the notation in section V, section 8, as the city attorney now recommends that nominations and appointments for the offices of mayor and mayor pro tem be conducted via nomination and vote with no requirement for a formal motion and support, as was previously indicated on the agenda. Is there anyone who would like to make said motion?
Heather, I'll make said motion.
Thank you. We have a
I'll
motion
support.
and support.
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Money,
Yes.
Swem,
Yes.
Dennison.
Yes.
Carried.
And do we have a motion to approve the amended agenda as presented?
I'll make said motion.
I'll support.
Bianski,
Yes.
Money,
Yes.
Swem,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon.
Yes.
Carried.
At this time, I would like to invite the public to make public comment up to 3 minutes on agenda items only. If you are interested in making a public comment, please make your way to the podium, and please provide your name for the clerk for the minutes.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Patricia Moore. I live at 201 Terracoop Street in Buchanan, Michigan. I wanted to thank all of the candidates that ran for the City Commission and to congratulate those that were successful. And I just want to make the comment that it seems like experience was what the voters were looking for, so that's always good. And I did want to thank Mayor Dennison for helping me Saturday on a very short notice. I had very short notice myself, but when I was mayor 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I had personally purchased a tree through the Memorial Tree Program to honor the Scarecrow Charities Organization. And Saturday was the 30-degree weather planting day for that tree. So with 1 hour's notice, Mayor Dennison came to my assistance and we joined together in thanking Scarecrow Charities. And I do want to note that the tree program, the Friends of the Trees were planting 9 trees that day. So it was a thrill to be able to thank in the past for the community to do such wonderful people as the Scarecrow Charities. And I wanted to especially thank Mayor Dennison for showing up and helping me thank them. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony Hauser, 209 Main Street. First off, I'd like to say congratulations to the candidates that won. It was a very close race. The city has spoken. I would like to remind all of you that it was a super close race. There was not crazy margins to say that anyone did lose. I would not say that I lost. I would say that I was super successful in building a pretty decent base for being a person that has only been here for several years. So again, I'd like to congratulate you at that. My next thought is the way the mayor is picked seems to be a very interesting way to be. I personally believe it should be the voice of the people. So here I'm going to give you my opinion on what I would say. To give one person only 2 years is doing them a disservice. I feel like a person really needs to have more than 2 years to do the job that they're doing. Not to say anything bad against anybody that's up there. I know all of you guys would do a great job at what you're doing, but I feel that the community has been ran in a really good form for the last 2 years, and I think that it would potentially be in our best interest to see that it gets ran the same way. So, but thank you.
Hi, Monroe LeMay from 118 Shermer Parkway. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone who came out and voted. It was a great success, I think. As I mentioned to everyone at the forum, there is no 3 people that wouldn't be perfect for this job. I think that all 5 of us were good, and I know that the 2 of us who did not win will continue to support and work with our commissioners. Sean Dennison, Dan Vianski, Mark, I'm really happy for you guys, and I can't wait to work with you. I will have to say, though, and I know a lot of people are asking, it was so close that with 1 vote, I did petition a recount, and after speaking to all 3 of those who were running and successfully made it, they all agreed with me that they would have done the same thing. We owe that to the public. We owe it to those who voted. This is the wonderful thing about our democracy, and I'm sure that it's going to work out just fine for the people who did need to be up here. There is one other thing I'd like to say, and that is talking about what Tony mentioned with the mayor. I've thought a lot about it, and I do believe that that should be something that the people should vote on. So after speaking to a lot of people that voted for me, and I talked to them about it, who they would prefer, they did mention as well that they would like to see Sean Dennison as mayor again. They don't feel that he had a chance to do enough in 1 year. So I would recommend, if you are thinking about this, that Sean be given another chance to do this for 1 more year. And the other thing is, Russell Stevens, many of you know him. He passed away a couple years ago. Russell was probably, in my opinion, but it's just my opinion, the best civil servant that we ever had in this community. He was a dear friend, and he meant a lot, not just to the senior center, but he has sat on many boards of the city, the chamber. He was one of the best lions that I've ever met, and I learned most of my civil servants from him. So I would recommend that you all join us on the 17th of November, Thursday, between 4 and 6 at the Senior Center, and come celebrate him. Thank you.
Is anyone else wishing to make a public comment at this time?
I'm sorry. I'm taking this out of order just because they may have to go. Come up quick word. I'd like to introduce our new Buchanan police officer. This is Corey Reed. So I just wanted
Good
to
evening.
introduce him to the commission and welcome him to the city of Buchanan. He comes with us with some good experience from Indiana, and also he was up in Benton Township for a little bit. So he is really dedicated to wanting to serve the community and provide community-oriented policing and things. So I just wanted to give a face to the name as you see him around. Of course, don't confuse him with me, right? Because that's already happened already. So. But I just wanted to welcome him to you. All
Get
right?
his name one more
What
time.
was his
Corey.
last name?
Corey Reed, R-E-E-D.
Reed.
Yep.
But can he sing? Oh.
There you go. Only in the shower.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If everyone could please join me in welcoming Officer Reed to Buchanan. Thank you. Thank you. All right, any other public comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to nominations and appointments. As mentioned earlier, this will be process-wise, where I will be calling for nominations. And when I ask for a nomination, it'll be made note of by the clerk, and I will continue to ask for nominations until there are no more nominations to be made. At that time, it will be then put to a written vote of the Buchanan City Commissioners to choose first the mayor and later the mayor pro tem. Those written votes will be given to the clerk, and she shall read the results aloud to those in attendance, and that will also be recorded in the minutes. So moving on to Section A, currently existing boards, Section 1, one seat available for the position of mayor. And again, to know after this selection is made, the mayor will take over the running of the meeting from here, and I will no longer be running the meeting. That will be led by the newly selected mayor. So at this time, may I call for nominations for the position of mayor of the city of Buchanan?
Heather,
Just- Go ahead, Mark.
sorry, Larry. I'd like to make a nomination for Patrick Swim.
Okay,
To
we
be
have a
mayor.
nomination for Commissioner Patrick Swem. Noted. Are there any other nominations for the position of mayor of the city of Buchanan?
This is Money. I would make a nomination for Sean Dennison.
Okay, we have a second nomination for City Commissioner and Mayor, former Mayor Sean Dennison. Are there any other nominations for the position of mayor of the city of Buchanan? Final call for nominations for mayor. Seeing none, nominations are now closed. There are two nominated candidates before the City Commission. City Clerk Kayla Langston will distribute the written ballots. Please write down one of the two named candidates, those being Commissioner Patrick Swem and Commissioner former Mayor Sean Dennison. Please write down one and only one name. When you are finished, the clerk shall collect the pieces of paper and the results shall be read aloud.
You want us to write our names on these?
That is up to the City Commission. My recommendation, yes.
First vote from Commissioner Whedon is for Patrick Swem. First vote for Sean Dennison is from Commissioner Dennison. Commissioner Swem voted for himself, Patrick Swem. From Commissioner Money, he voted for Sean Dennison. And from Commissioner Bianski, he voted for Sean Dennison.
So at this time, of the two nominated candidates, we have 2 votes in favor of Commissioner Swem and 3 votes in favor of Sean Dennison. That being the vote, the majority is spoken at this time. Would you please join me in congratulating our newly selected mayor, Honorable Sean Dennison?
Thank you. You're doing such a good job. You sure you want to keep going with?
Thank you, but
So
no
we're doing the
thanks.
mayor pro tem the exact same way?
Yes.
Okay. Opening up for mayor pro tem, I will take nominations for mayor pro tem.
I would move for Mark Whedon to be put in nomination for mayor pro tem.
There's one nomination. Any other nominations?
I think Patrick wanted to be mayor, or does he want to be mayor pro tem?
I'd be happy for that as well.
Okay. There's a second nomination for Patrick Swim. Any other nominations? Okay, hearing none, can we have our ballots, please? Sorry, I'm the only one folding.
From Commissioner Money, we have one for Mark Whedon. From Mayor Dennison, we have Mark Whedon. From Dan Bianski, we have Commissioner Swim. From Commissioner Whedon, we have Mark Whedon. And from Commissioner Swim, we have Mark Whedon.
Okay, we congratulate our new mayor pro tem, or re-elected mayor pro tem, Mark Whedon. I'm going to apologize in advance because this might get a little clunky here for a minute because I think this type of selecting is kind of new to all of us.
It is, and that particular procedure was recommended by the city attorney specifically for mayor and mayor pro tem. I do believe it would be perfectly acceptable to either continue with that for the remainder or go back to our original process, which was a motion and a support and a vote. That would be up to the discretion of the mayor.
It just seems to me in the past, we've always just kind of discussed who was sitting on what boards and who had interest in what boards, and we've kind of figured out amongst ourselves who would take what seats, and unless anyone at this table objects to that, I
I don't want to wear out the clerk.
yeah, no, I think she's got enough exercise today. Yeah, I'm not even really sure how to move forward.
I'll help you. I want to volunteer for 5 of them.
I know you do. I know you want to be on all of them.
As a point of order, Mayor Dennison, the one that specifically indicates a process is that, as per Act 33 of 2008, the Planning Commission appointment must be made subject to appointment by the mayor with approval of a majority vote of the city commission. Otherwise, the others should be in your discretion. My apologies for not noting that earlier.
No, that's fine. I currently sit on the Planning Commission. Unless anyone objects, I would like to nominate myself to continue to serve on the Planning Commission.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Is there support?
I'll support. I got a question though, too.
No, I know you think that the Planning Commission is supposed to be a board of 7.
Right.
How many are currently sitting on the Planning Commission? 5. That's what I thought.
But it's 7, so a quorum is 4. So a quorum, the misunderstanding is since we have 5 on the commission now, that a quorum is 3. That's not true. Quorum is 4. So if you only have 3 show up, you don't have a quorum to do business.
But I'm not sure if in the bylaws it allows for 2 city representatives. Like, because for Sean right now, he sits as a city representative. I'm not sure what the bylaws say about it.
Well, I would like to raise the point that since we're not finding volunteers, and since we don't have quorums, that we should volunteer for these committees.
But I
till
think,
the
I think the
time.
quorum now is based on the number of sitting
Of sitting.
members.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Not the way, not the number that it should be, but the number that we actually have.
I don't think that's the way Robert rules read, though. I think if your committee calls for 7, your quorum is 4.
We always have 4 usually. We haven't had one for a long time that hasn't had 4.
I'm gonna ask Ralph if he has any input on, I know we have one opening.
We have 2 open seats, and Dan's right, we should have 4. We always have 4, otherwise we don't have a quorum.
Yeah.
But we have 2 open seats, we just haven't been able to fill them.
I mean, unless anyone objects, which I'm open to hearing objections.
How about alternates?
I would
then?
make the nomination to place Dan Viancy on the planning commission.
I mean, if there's any issues, I can always be called an alternate and just show up. You know, I don't have to be a voting member unless you don't have a quorum.
You can only have 1 sitting person on the thing.
Yeah, so why don't you put,
Really?
yeah. that's
Put me
what-
as an alternate then.
put-
Well, that brings up a whole nother conversation. How do we go about making all of us alternates? So that, because we want to keep doing business, and we don't want to cancel meetings if we don't have enough people, that way any one of us can fill in when needed.
I
If-
personally think it's best accomplished if each commissioner would email myself and the clerk your recommended placements where you want to be placed on which boards. We'll combine all those and make a list, a tally that can be presented to the commission to review at the next meeting and decide who should be a permanent member, who should be an alternate.
And I'm not,
And we
I'm
can
sorry,
put
I'm
that
not
forward
talking
as a
about the planning
recommended
commission
motion.
now. I'm talking about in general.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's sort of my recommendation for later in the agenda, where it's the not currently existing but recommended to be created boards, that we have a conversation and a dialogue about it tonight, but that we don't take action, that the commission, for lack of a better term, just based on their dialogue, give me some thoughts and recommendations and come back at a next meeting, ask for a
Okay.
vote.
Okay. Okay, so let's move on to the zoning board of appeals then.
Well, wait, we have to formally vote for the planning commission seat.
Oh, we
Just so
didn't?
that-
Sorry.
Well, you had support, we just
I'm
need to
getting ahead of
roll call
myself.
it.
Let's get roll call, please.
Okay. Money,
Yes.
Swam,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
yeah, Whedon, sorry.
Yes. I know,
Yeah.
V and a W.
Yes.
Okay. The zoning board of appeals, 1 seat with alternate or 5 seats? I'll take your help here too, Heather. I
So-
currently sit on that one also as a
Mhm.
city representative or a commission representative.
Yes, and this is another one like Planning Commission, that the makeup of which is regulated by state statute. Many of the others aren't as specific, but these 2 are more specific. This one in particular, Public Act 110 of 2006, states that the members of the Zoning Board of Appeals must be approved by a majority vote of the City Commission, or alternatively, the entire City Commission may choose to serve as the Zoning Board of Appeals. So you can
Right,
choose
I don't
one
think
or
we
the
wanna do
other.
that, honestly. But unless there's an objection, I would again nominate myself to remain on the ZBA.
A second.
Swam,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Money.
Yes.
All right, number 5, Joint Water Sewer Board. I think you serve on it now?
So I'm,
Or you
Mark's on it.
Myself and Cameron were on it.
Yeah, and I
So
would
the-
like to be on it, considering my affiliation with the landfill.
Would you like to remain on it?
Yeah, that's fine.
I would move for Patrick to be on the Water and Sewer Board with Mark serving as an alternate.
No, there's 2
Those 2
seats.
seats.
Or 2 seats, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
we're good.
I'm way more qualified than either one of them.
Do you want it, Dan?
You betcha I want
Are you willing to?
Yeah.
to put
How do
Mr.
we,
Viancy on it?
okay.
I'll amend my motion to read Patrick Swem and Dan Bianski.
I'll support. Give me a roll call, please.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski,
it. Yes.
Money,
Yes.
Swam.
Yes.
Thank you. Number 6, the Buchanan Area Recreation Board, which I currently sit on. I know Mark has interest in it, and I would make the motion to nominate Commissioner Whedon to sit on the BARB.
Support.
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski,
No.
Money,
Yes.
Swam,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
carries.
Okay, number 7, the landfill board. I believe Commissioner Swem is on that.
I'll make the motion for Patrick to remain on that board.
And I would support.
I want to make a comment. We actually have 2 seats. Heather's on that board. I would like to be the other, I would like to take her place. on that
That's
board.
allowable. It's
And
up to
I-
the discretion of the commission.
I mean, there are, we've stated repeatedly that we'd like to see Heather get off boards. So I personally would agree with that. If someone would like to make the motion.
I would not like to see that happen. I think that board is vital for intergovernmental relationships among the nearby communities. And the board has expressed their pleasure of having Heather on it and the value she brings to it. And I would like to see her remain integral part of that board.
We have a motion? Did we get a
We have a
motion?
motion for
Have a
me.
motion for Patrick.
Okay,
Dan brought up discussion.
all right.
I'll
What
make
do
a,
we- Go ahead.
I'll make a motion for Patrick and Heather to remain on that board.
Is there support?
And I would support.
Unfortunately, the motion by Commissioner Money would have to either be amended or withdrawn before another, or the vote goes
What
and then.
motion did you
No,
make?
that was the previous one. We hadn't made any motions on this
I-
one
You
yet.
guys made a motion because Dan asked for discussion. So you made a motion.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
correct.
All right,
You're right.
you're right.
Yep.
And I would amend my motion to read Commissioner Swim and City Manager Grace to be on that board.
Bianski,
No,
Money,
Yes.
Swam,
Yes.
Dennison,
I'm going to say no only because I'd like to see her here more, but,
Whedon,
Yes.
okay. Moving on to number 8, 1 Buchanan. I'm not sure who sits on that now. Wait,
no one.
no one, other than you, right? You're a board
Which is
member.
my designation be my designated representative right now, because I was trying to get off boards as instructed.
Is anyone interested in serving on 1 Buchanan?
I would be
Or would like
interested
to
in
make a
that.
motion?
All right. I'll motion to appoint Larry Money to the 1 Buchanan board.
I'll support. May I have roll call, please?
Money,
Yes.
Swam,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes,
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski,
yes,
carries.
thank you. Okay, the Buchanan Area Fine Arts Committee. I'm not sure who currently sits on that one either. Is it Mark?
Mm-mm.
No, you were in the comment.
I've
Yeah.
been having Ashley Regal serve
Ashley
as my
did.
designated representative for that board.
Is anyone interested in that seat?
I know you can all see on me on the Fine Arts Committee, so no, I'm not going to volunteer for Fine Arts.
I would nominate myself to sit on the Buchanan Area Fine Arts Committee.
I'll support.
May I have roll call, please?
Swam,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes,
Money,
Yes.
carries.
Thank you. Number 10, the Common Committee. I believe that's the one Mark sits on now, correct? No.
Yeah, with Farmers Market.
Farmers
If
Market
they
Board, that's what
combine
it
that
was.
with the common.
Ashley's doing that one too, okay. Anyone have any interest in the Common Committee?
half of them would quit if I got on it.
I'm not saying a word.
I have no qualms about it.
And it's acceptable to continue the current placement if so
Okay,
desired
good.
by the
Looks like
commission.
Ashley
Yeah.
Regal's going to stay on the Common Committee. Good job, Ashley. Number 11, the Board of Review.
What does that entail?
I think Larry's on that.
I have sat on that board for the last 5 years. I would like to continue to sit on that board if there's no objections.
I'll motion to Larry Money's be on Board of Review.
I'll support.
Roll call, please.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes,
Money,
Yes.
Swam,
Yes.
carries.
Okay, the Election Board Commission. I believe that's the one that I was attending last year.
You have to be on it.
I have to be on it.
Yep.
So let's move to number 13, the Cemetery Committee. New? Do you want to add anything to that since you're part of, just kind of a heads up or no? And what's the reasoning? I'm just curious.
Well, I think
Or-
Heather created a whole bunch of different things to help with city staff. and-
Oh, this one, I actually read in the city charter. It lists it in the charter,
This is
yes.
from, isn't it,
I think it's also, I think the Friends of Oak Ridge Cemetery serves as the role of cemetery committee. But
I
since our
thought this
charter
was
calls it
already
specifically by that
used.
name, I felt it
Yeah.
appropriate to
And I-
list it.
And I've also sat on that committee.
I'll motion,
Subcommittee?
Yeah.
I'll motion to appoint Larry Money. to
I'll
the
support.
I mean, I was
Cemetery
gonna
Committee.
take it if you don't want it.
No, I've sat on it. I've got my name
I
on
can
some
deal with
dirty
both.
deeds out there.
They're not talking,
I
though.
st- I still got
He motioned, I
He
supported.
All right, Whedon,
unfinished
Yes.
business.
Bianski,
Yes.
Money,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Dennison.
Yes.
Carries.
So I don't have nothing.
Yeah, you got
Water,
joint water
sewer.
sewer.
Oh, well.
Fran's
Once
got
every
a
3 months.
question, Mr. Mayor.
And, you're on, something else.
I think it's
Zoning
forward.
Board of Appeals.
Zoning Board of Appeals, there you go.
Yep. Good point.
So we listed the, in this section, the required boards, and it's my understanding that the Farmers Market Board is a part of the Common Committee, or at least that's how it was explained to me. If that's not accurate, we can address that, but. Okay. I'll say that's how it was explained to me, and I found notes as such, but I'll be happy to talk with you after the meeting about that, Fran, to clarify.
Cemetery committee was Larry, right?
Yep.
Not doing any
Recommended be created boards, and then
Table.
the compensation commission.
So I'm happy to speak briefly at the top of this section, Mayor Dennison, with your permission.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, under Section B, recommended to be created boards. These are boards that, some of which are contemplated in our charter, but not created in our charter, just as an option for the city commission to create. Others are just ones that I have noticed from service on other boards, most specifically the landfill board, that serve the purpose of allowing more contemplation of complex matters than can be accomplished in a brief public meeting. It allows for that more into the weeds discussion. So some of these are recommendations based on that. None of these are required to be created. These are just recommendations, again, made by myself based on either something indicated in our own city charter or observations at other boards. My recommendation for this evening, though, is that these be considered by the city commission, perhaps some conversation and some guidance back to staff, but I would not at this time recommend full formation of these boards until we've had a better chance to discuss what that might look like and who might be good to fit on which board and who might not be interested in serving on such boards. So again, my recommendation is for discussion this evening, but I would highly recommend tabling a decision on all of these items listed under Section 8B.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
Do your thing, do your new thing.
Sean, I'll make said motion.
Is there support?
I'll support it, but, did you move to table this, or did you move to postpone this?
Move to table. Is that what you were seconding, or?
No, I won't motion to table. I mean,
Okay.
if we want to talk about it later, we need to postpone it. And that's very intricate in the Robert's rules, and we'll get that explained to us when we have that class. And I just took it 2 weeks ago, so I'm not being a smart aleck.
No, you're fine.
But table, and I know Larry told me that they use it a lot.
Right.
But it's not interchangeable with postpone.
If you want to postpone
Table.
it to discuss it,
Just,
then,
we will postpone it until a further date.
That
That's
is
fine.
technically correct. I was
Okay.
using table because this commission has historically used it to mean wait till the next meeting. But Commissioner Viancy is accurate that the Roberts Rules of Order do specifically, typically use the term table to mean only later in the meeting, not a following meeting.
do I need to change
Well,
my?
I would support an amended motion then.
Okay, I'll change my motion to postpone this
No.
until the next meeting.
And I'll second.
Okay.
And can I add something to that?
Yeah.
The reason why I bring it up is a lot of times, if you do table it, it's a sneaky way of postponing, with not saying that you're postponing it. If you table it, you don't ever have to bring it up.
Right, that makes sense. So
Okay?
there is a
And that's the
definitive
way it was
difference.
explained to me.
Yeah,
Perfect.
no, that's.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Dan.
you can keep tabling it forever.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Bianski,
Yes.
Money,
Yes.
Lund,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon.
Yes.
Sorry, trying to get caught up here. Okay, I think that takes us to the consent agenda. Would someone like to make a motion regarding the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent calendar.
Is there support?
This is money I'll support.
May we have roll call, please?
Money,
Yes.
Swam,
Yes.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski.
Yes.
Carries.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 10, scheduled matters from the floor. We have an audit presentation this evening from Krugel Lawton. You have the floor, sir.
Just slap me if I don't, shouldn't interrupt you. It's too bad.
Your presence.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
And may I quickly note, there will be a public copy available both here at City Hall during business hours, and we'll be reaching out to the library to attempt to make one available for the public at the library viewing as well.
Okay, first, thank you. I am representing Krugel Lawton for the audit of the fiscal year ended June 30, 2022. My name is Brian Hake, for those of you who don't know me. And again, just like to start by saying thank you. We appreciate the opportunity to provide this service to the city. Glad to be here in November. It's a little earlier than we were conducting this, at this part of the process compared to last year. So really, I'm just going to give some highlights as far as how the audit went this year. And I can take any questions either during or at the end. If you guys want to jump in, please feel free. So basically, just from a big picture standpoint, very pleased with how the audit process went this year. It was smooth from our perspective. Really appreciate the help of Deb and Heather and everyone. I know lots of folks are involved in the process. It's a lot. So we really appreciate everyone's kind of assistance answering all our requests. So I'll just go through, so first and foremost, just some highlights of these financial statements. And I'll always start with, so page 1 is our independent auditor's report. This is the only thing in this packet that technically comes from us as the audit firm. So we come, conduct our procedures, and issue this report. Glad to present that, as was the case last year, we're issuing an unmodified opinion, meaning we got through all our procedures and the statements are fairly presented. So that's really the big picture, kind of what we come to do, and that's the conclusion. And so just to talk about some of the highlights again for this year. So pages 1 and 2 are our report, 3 through 6 are management's discussion and analysis. I don't want to spend too much time on it, be respectful. I'm not going to go through this in too much detail. So I'm going to skip, so pages 3 through 7, MD&A. Page 3 through 6, MD&A. Page 7, just to spend a moment here. So this is the city's balance sheet, so to speak, from a long-term perspective. This is where we can see long-term type of items like the city's fixed assets. So one of those, just to, again, to point out a few, the city, this is where we see, because the city participates in a pension plan, MERS plan, the city has a net pension asset as of fiscal year end, and that's where you can see that towards the end of the asset section. That's $871,000 total at 6/30. Probably, folks are more commonly familiar with a net pension liability. So it's good that that plan's in the black, so to speak. Obviously, that changes year to year. Fast forward, up to even this point, it depends on how the stock market performs and all that, many factors. So that can flip, but that's where that was as of June 30. So capital assets, you can see, so between governmental and business type, total capital assets about $19.7 million at the end of the year, and that's net. Just a couple other big picture items here. So this is where you can see the city's debt as well. Towards the end of the liabilities section, no governmental activities debt right there, but about 10.4 million in business type activities debt. That's related to obviously the water and sewer, continuing to pay that debt as planned. Okay, and that's all I had on that page. The next page is the statement of activities. So again, same long-term basis. Wasn't going to spend too much time here, except to point out that this is where you would see, so this is the activity for the year, and therefore you would see depreciation expense on those fixed assets and interest expense related to the debt. So the only couple numbers I tend to point out here, so change in net position, the bottom line essentially for the city. Governmental activities experienced approximately $225,000 loss. And the business type, approximately $1.2 million loss. Mostly that's related to depreciation expense. All right. So flipping to page 9, this is where, you know, most of the emphasis tends to go on the governmental funds. So this is modified accrual, a more short-term view. And just a few of the highlights here, and focusing mostly on general fund. So one item to note here is the unearned revenue toward the end of the liability section, that $447,000 is ARPA. And so that's on your balance sheet until the city deems that to be used, at which point it becomes revenue as well and will disappear from the balance sheet. So that was what was received but not spent as of June 30. And the other thing usually we discuss is essentially, so this is, again, the balance sheet. So it's one way to look at the health of the general fund or any of the funds. But as far as the health of the general fund in particular, we talk about months of fund balance. So based on current year expenditures, the general fund was sitting at about 4.55 months of fund balance. The expenditures were up a little bit. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And that, so we tend to talk about the range of maybe 6 to 12 months as far as what folks like to aim for or what's considered healthy, but that really depends. It's not cut and dried. And what it depends on really is your longer term spending goals. So you could, if you're not spending, planning to spend much in the near future, less than that's fine. If you are, you want to be building that up, obviously. And what that gets back to is really your spending plan, your asset management plan, and there's a lot of thought and work that goes into that. So it's not really a simple issue, but again, that 4.5 is where the general fund was at this point in time. Okay, and you can see all the other funds. I won't go into all of those, but all the other major governmental funds and the non-major this year was local streets, housing grants, and cemetery fund. Any questions on any of that? Okay, so I'll flip. The next page is a reconciliation between the two types of statements. I'm going to flip past that to page 11. And just a few things to talk about here. So overall, combining all these governmental funds, the city had a decrease in fund balance of about $175,000. Mostly that was due to, as I mentioned, some increased expenditures this year, especially in general fund. So you can see the general fund had that decrease this year of about $665. Just a big investment year for the general fund. Again, it's neither good nor bad. It's just what it was. You know, it was clearly a spending year for some longer term, I think some streets and other fixed asset type of items, just an investment year for the general fund. Okay. No questions on that. Just the last couple things to discuss. Page 13 is where we can see that water and sewer fund. So this is on that longer term basis of accounting. So you can see kind of the cash position, fixed assets, et cetera. I'm not going to comment more on that. I think it stands for itself. But the next page, perhaps more interesting, so page 14 is the activity in that fund for the year. So revenues, the 2.6 million, expenses, almost 3.6, but you can see that is largely comprised of depreciation expense. So that's non-cash, obviously. It's not affecting the cash position of that fund. But that's a large, large item due to, so large additions, increased depreciation expense. And so that's how the water and sewer fund sort of shook out for this year. Following that is cash flows for that fund. And really, that's the end of kind of the details I was going to go through. Statement of net position, and then the component unit statements. I wasn't really going to spend any time in this meeting. And then following that is all the note disclosures, budgetary comparison schedules, required statements for the MERS plan, et cetera. So glad to answer any questions on any of that. We did have a meeting, so Heather, Deb, and I did meet to go through this, and just a myriad issues as far as how this year's audit went, talking about how we can make next year, as we're always trying to do, even better. So, and we might have further meetings soon and throughout the year, and that's on the last point I try to make is it doesn't have to be this meeting. If there are questions or any way we can help throughout the year, please feel free. We like this to be a continuous process. If there's a way we can help, we'd like to keep in touch and do that.
Will you grade us? Because, I mean, I've sat in on a few of these, and, I mean, you technically work for us, so you're not gonna really say bad things about us. But I'd like a grade of A through E on where the city stands compared to other cities. Because, I mean, we're a very small city, and we have all of the entities. We don't have the cash flow. And so, are we in a position of demise? That would be a D. We're not failing, obviously, but are we a C, or are we a C plus?
And you're asking from a financial stability and
Right.
okay.
Nothing else.
So I would say that's a difficult question, and to be perfectly honest, I don't have the information to answer it. I can say I would back up. One way to look at that is obviously, so that fund balance, months of fund balance, is something to keep an eye on and to really try to build that up. You're sitting at that 4.5. Some entities like to adopt a more formal policy as a target for that. I think what matters the most is really putting a lot of effort into that asset management plan and making sure that you've got comfort with what your future large expenses are, and that you've got a plan to finance all that. I would hesitate to stand here and compare really to other cities as far as this. As much as I would like to do that, I would hesitate.
There's no
to do that.
comparison.
You mentioned you
This
had
is the
some
best.
recommendations on some things we could do to improve it. Could you go over those with the group?
Sure. As far as the letter in the back, or
Uh,
just
I don't know, I guess I didn't see that part. Do you mind just going over whatever you mentioned
the
you were talking about
recommendations
there?
yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess I want to
What-
make sure I understand.
So I don't know, I'm just going off of what you just said. I
Sorry.
didn't know the letter in the back, I only read the other stuff, so.
Okay. Yeah, I think my main recommendation is that asset management plan. I think there's been a lot of turnover, obviously, in the accounting function, and we were very excited. You never know what you're going to get with the new folks coming in. I would say, Deb's doing a great job. It was my first year, to be honest, working on the city's audit. So, this was new to me. I think this year, obviously, we've got, other folks in our office who were involved last year, and I think everyone would say this year was better than last year. And so, kind of heading in the right direction as far as, I would say things like budget and budget oversight. And, the cash process is key, and that's been improved. There's always improvements to be made, but it's one of the things that we discuss, and how that can be improved, and making sure, just specifically with bank reconciliations, that those, we issued a finding because early in the year those were not done as timely as they should be, and at this point, that had been rectified. And so that process is key and has been improved already. I think that's maybe the main example. that a lot of things kind of depend on that. I'll probably ramble. I could ramble more, but does that answer to some degree?
Yeah, if that's the only thing that you have a recommendation that we're paying more attention to. So.
We talked about other things like, you know, the detail of how payroll's recorded. Nothing probably too interesting for this meeting, but yeah, more intricate things on how to get really everyone better reports on a monthly basis that can be, you know, more useful to everybody, and again would tie back into budgeting and monitoring and make more sense of all that.
I'll have to read this letter. So.
Okay. Any other questions?
Thanks for the questions.
All right. No other questions. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving down to item 11, reports by departments, starting with the clerk's report.
I feel like I've talked more in this meeting than I ever have before. Just real quick, I just want to give a giant thank you to our election workers. 3 of them are in this room right now. And on an average, they worked 16 hours on Tuesday. And I will tell you this, my oldest election worker is 89 years old. And she lasted all day long, so. And my youngest one is 23. So we have a wide range of people, and they are just an absolutely amazing group. They had to deal with some crabby people and some whines, and first thing in the morning they were a little rushed, but once they got into the groove, they were all good. So thank you to them. I cannot do this without you guys. So a couple of things. We had a better turnout than we did in August, but I will never be happy unless it's 100%. So we had a 41.62 with 28% voting AV. Obviously, we have our new commissioners, but I just want to give it to everybody that ran. You guys did fantastic. It was my first time ever having a race. Where I came from before, they never had anybody run against them. So this was like kind of nervous for me. And I think myself and Jill and Courtney were there at the end of the night, and we were just panicking a little bit for you guys. And of course, it came down to that one vote, and I was like, oh, Lord help us.
Callan,
So-
what was the percentage of absentee ballots again?
So percentage-wise, 28% of the voters voted absentee. We had a decent turnout. I mean, I was happy with what came back. So I sent out 446, I received 427. So that's a pretty decent number coming back. Not as many as I would hope for. Like I said, I always want 100%, but we're getting there. We're a lot better than the time before. So we actually had 1,530 voters in total. So I pulled the 2018 because that was the governor. I wanted to see how we were doing. In that race, there was 1,531 voters, but I will tell you this, we have 300 more registered voters now than we did then. So pretty decent turnout compared to what it was. So I am going to take this moment to tell you, because I have kept my mouth shut about Prop 2 a lot, because it does affect my job, and I have personal beliefs as well, but I will tell you Prop 2 passed. That is going to be huge for my department. It is not going to be the same. We are talking about 9 days of in-person early voting. We're going to talk about precinct management. We're going to have a combined precinct. We're going to have precinct workers. The county they can make an agreement, but I honestly don't see our county doing that because they do not have the staff to do that.
When you say make an agreement, can you explain what you
They
mean?
can actually hold centers,
Oh,
and especially depending on where it was, if they were going to do like a Niles courthouse one for the South County, you're talking about if they don't, then our people have to go all the way to St. Joe, and it's just not gonna work for us down here in South County. Like I said, you never know. This was a proposal that was not put by the Bureau of Elections or the state of Michigan. This is what happened in 2018. We're not gonna know until the last minute on what's gonna happen, and we're just gonna have to wing it a little bit. But I will tell you this, the cost is going to be a lot bigger, because and plus now with that, you're talking about postage. It's saying that state is going to pay for the postage to and back, but it always has to come out of our pockets first. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but it adds up pretty quick. There's a lot of things. One thing I do love about it is that the military, active military, do have an extra 6 days to get their ballots back. They will go to canvassers. That was one huge proponent for me. I also am a huge proponent just because I want 100%. I want to see more people vote. I feel like this will get people out to vote. But there's good and bad with it, and we'll take it as we come.
Ask you another question.
Yeah.
So what does the state pay for in that proposition?
So there's a couple things. They were supposed to pay for a ballot box, but you have to have a population over 15,000. We don't. So we're fine there. They're supposed to pay for the postage, two in there, but they do that already for us, but we have to be reimbursed. So it still has to come out of our budget, it still has to be reimbursed. It's just more planning that you're gonna need to have, and who knows when we get it back. They kind of work, it's the state, so they kind of work as they can. Another thing with Prop 2, a lot of people don't realize that Prop 2, the things that were in there are already what we do. So it was a huge like with the affidavit of identity. Michigan already does that. The signatures on the ballot, Michigan already does that. That is just ensuring that it stays that way. But yeah, lots of new things. This one thing that I did not agree with was the applications are now only one application for the rest of your life as long as you live in Buchanan. On that list, that means I have to mail out ballots with just that one. So if you apply for an absentee ballot, and you live here for the next 20 years, I automatically have to send you a ballot for every election. So that was one thing I've always loved about Michigan elections, is that you had to apply for an absentee ballot every time so that I knew you wanted a ballot. So that's changed.
How are you supposed to know when people move?
So that's gonna be another part of voter registration. That is a huge undertaking. We already do I do my own voter registration. In the past, it's been done by the administrative assistant, but I'm too much of a control freak to let that go right now. We are still cleaning up the rolls constantly, and especially in the city of Buchanan, we have a lot of people move in and out. With the apartment complexes and everything, it is going to have to be like an everyday thing, and not a once a week thing for me. So it's gonna take a lot of time, and I have 2 years to get my rolls perfect. But the state of Michigan, there are laws. I can't just cancel somebody. I have to verify them. I have to challenge them. I have to find them. And if I can't find them, then they stay on our voter rolls for 2 presidential elections. So it's, yeah, if you look at the actual registered to vote in the city of Buchanan compared to the actual active, is a huge difference. There's a lot of people there on challenge and verify, because I've gotten a piece of paper saying from the post office that they don't live there any longer. It's a complicated process, and it's about to get a little more complicated than it looks like. Preparing you now. But
Well, I can say with no uncertainty that if there's anyone that can handle it, it's you.
thank you. I'll try my best.
Are you done?
I'm done.
I want to ask her a question.
Yeah.
I want you to explain to this commission recall rules and
Recall or recount?
recall.
Recall.
And I want you to explain censure by this commission, since they have some reservations.
So recall is extremely difficult. So you've seen it right now with the school boards. Mainly that's a county level, trying to get people recalled. There's a certain petition language that has to go in front of the county canvassers or their board of, their election commission to get it approved. It is extremely, extremely difficult. So if it gets approved, if the ballot language gets approved, it would go to a special election, which would cost the city tons of money to run a special election, because right now we're lucky with the state and federal, they pay for most of it, except for our ballot costs and our workers. So this would be us paying for all our ballot, all our programming, all our election workers. Everything would have to come from us for a special election. It was extremely difficult to recall an elected official. So, the censorship, can you answer more of like the censorship of it?
No, that's something I would have to research to give a proper answer to, so I would appreciate advance notice
I
next
just
time.
wanted to bring it up, thank you.
Yep.
Now, I can tell you about the recount, but the recall is.
Could you explain to us
Yeah.
how long that might take? and
So it's
what
gonna
we're
take a
looking at?
while. So, as Monroe stated, she filed a recount, which y'all agree it was one vote. So Mark will get a notice from the county, and he can either, join in the petition or not. They will have to conduct a special meeting, They will then hire all the election workers that they want. It's all through the county. So, and they can't even be done until after canvassing. So they're not through with canvassing the November 8th election. I don't see them being done until at least probably early next week. It can take up to 30 to 60 days for it to be done. Just
And then
depending on
how
the
much of
schedule.
a project is it for you to do the actual recount?
So really, I can't touch it because it's my stuff. So I have the ballot bags in my possession, and I will have Tim or Harvey run me up there when the time is necessary. I will probably sit in, and Mark and Monroe can sit in too, and watch it. But the first part of it is they're actually going to count the ballots that were cast to what I have in the e-poll book to what we all did. They'll do 2 counts. They won't even look at the names. If it matches what was tabulated, it's done, it's over. If on that third, if they get 2 different numbers, they'll go for a third one, then they will actually look at Mark and Monroe's numbers and actually hand count. So, it could be a lot. It's an interesting procedure.
It is.
Oh, one other question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're fine.
Can we change this? Because I talked to you about this. We take over, and I was surprised when I was elected the first time, taking over the meeting in November after the election, rather than taking over in January. What do we have to do to change
So
that?
that's a charter. So that's in our
Okay.
charter, so that would have to be a ballot. Yeah, you have to go on the ballot. It would have to be a proposal.
And it's not, but it's not that normal.
It is, I guess in cities it is, in townships it's not.
Okay.
Because townships have a board of trustees, the clerk, their supervisor, and the treasurer are also elected, and they're the ones that run the day-to-day operations, so they're in-house, they're in office. There's a lot that they have to transition over. So, yeah, cities it's a little different, but most places that I've seen, that's why you have that little bit of delay in case something like this happens.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Since we're talking about elections and voting and we're on that topic, I would like to make a motion that the city clerk and city manager explore ways to change the city charter to allow the public to vote on the position of mayor. The current system is archaic and unproductive, causes infighting and division before we've ever even had our first meeting. So if we could explore that, would anyone like to second my motion?
What exactly was your motion? I'm sorry.
I would like the city commission to direct the city manager and the city clerk to explore ways to give the choice of mayor to the voters and put it on the ballot.
What if
I don't
the
know how you're
person
gonna
they
do
pick
that.
doesn't want to be the mayor?
Well,
You
you
would
would
have to-
you'd have to announce that you want to run for mayor.
Right.
So the way I picture it is there would be, like this year, there would have been Mark, myself, Dan, Monroe, Tony in one column. In the next column, you would have voted for the city commission. And then the next side over, it would say for mayor. The people who-
Candidates for mayor.
And that would be even you or Larry could have been on there. It would have been whoever said they wanted to be mayor. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
That,
Yeah,
it's
but-
sort of a mixed bag throughout the state. That is how the community I previously served as city manager operated, is you had to declare at the time you were running, whether you were running for city commissioner or mayor. And only candidates who indicated they were running for mayor could be elected mayor.
What about the people that were up for election but hadn't gotten voted in yet?
They structured it as such that in my community of West Branch, the mayor position was up every 2 years. So every 2 years, you had to declare whether you were running for mayor.
Right, like, well, since we're here, like, what about Monroe and Tony? If someone would have voted them on the ballot.
They
mayor,
would
but
they would have
didn't
only
win,
been on the ballot as running for either mayor or commissioner. You had to choose. You have to choose when you state that you're running, which position you're running for, and you can't run for both. And if you lose mayor, you don't get city commissioner. You just
Right.
aren't on.
So in a situation like that, we would have put Sean at risk in that situation.
Yeah, so there's, pros and cons to any way, and as an example, my previous community also did, again, somewhat of a mixed bag. Every city does it slightly differently depending on their charter. We did actually wait until January 1 for the transition to occur, and I did find that to be smoother.
I'm just concerned that the way we do it now, it doesn't lend itself to a strong commission.
Well, the way it used to be, whoever made the first motion, everybody just supported whoever made the motion first.
Same thing. It's a race to raise your hand.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean, to me, it's.
you can either vote against your mayor or not vote against your mayor, so. I don't really care either way. I think, you're gonna be up for election in 2 years again, though, so.
I will say
No.
to
But it would
my
be for-
understanding as it presently sits, it's currently dictated by our city charter, which can be changed, but will take a minimum of at least one more election cycle to make that change,
Okay.
possibly two. It depends on how many changes to the charter we would explore doing. If you're only doing one, you can do it on the ballot, is my understanding. If you're going to do more than one, or maybe it's two, I don't recall, you have to have on the ballot people running for city charter commissioner. And that's a whole separate thing, and they have to run and get elected to be serving on the city charter commission. And then they present, after working with the city attorney and the city commission and city staff, their recommended new charter, and then that goes on the ballot for a vote. So depending on how many changes you're making, it could be at least a 1 year or a 2 election cycle component.
I made a motion, but if there's no
Second.
seconds,
I'll
we can move
second
on. Okay.
I just wanted to clarify.
No, it's fine.
Yeah. I don't think I could support something like that. It's like changing the Constitution, I feel like. It's kind of like
Well,
what this.
sometimes they need to be changed.
Fair?
Can we have a roll call, please?
Swan,
No.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon,
No.
Yasi,
I'm gonna vote yes for it. We can look into it.
Money.
I'd have to say no.
Motion dies.
Nice try, Sean.
That's fine. Okay, moving on to the Community Development Report, Mr. Director, Mr. Richard Murphy.
Okay. Rich Murphy, Community Development Director. Congratulations, Mayor, Commissioners. Congratulations to those who ran. I know we'll continue to work for the community. Congratulations, everyone who's here, who serves on boards and commissions. I just wanted to, I have several items. I'll try to be efficient, move quickly, interrupt me if I'm going too fast. But I have to talk about vision right to begin the first item, because I have to kind of catch people up a little bit on the first agenda item, which is the Michigan Sparks Grant. Many of the people in this room were part of this project in 2021, where we forged a vision for Buchanan. We had dozens of meetings over a 6-month period, final presentations, lots of discussion, excitement, and really it revolved around 3 themes. One was do more of what's working downtown, make the heart strong. That's what attracts the economic energy, and additionally look at perhaps our most vulnerable area, the North Side neighborhood, and see what we can do to build quality of life and more of a maintenance culture, maybe some new infill housing. And thirdly was the river. And the river, you'll remember there was some exciting visuals that were provided on the north side that looked at all the land that the city already controls its public access, considerable amounts of land, some up on bluffs like this shot, some down on the landing, which is the riverfront park area. Now the students and the community at the same time, I think, realized there was a big opportunity here. And we looked at how can we leverage this natural resource for it really to make Buchanan become a place where people come back to and choose to live based on the quality of life and the natural resources, because we have this majestic river that, to be honest, over the years, maybe when economics were challenging, that we didn't take care of things as well as we could have. Happened in hundreds of communities in the Great Lakes. Most of those communities now are realizing, again, how important the water is, and they're making these kind of bold moves to put their cities back on the water. And so there's a really exciting and compelling opportunity in Buchanan. I've talked to you guys about this before. About the last year, I've been shopping this idea. through many state and federal agencies, it always resonates. I've updated you on several occasions that I've had discussions with National Fish and Wildlife on, we have an iron in the fire on that front for funding opportunities, as well as the Coastal Resiliency Program. And this is, one of the concepts that students came up with was how could we reconnect the bluffs to the landing? How could we get to a point where we could have a discussion as a community about what types of uses we see down there? Do we like kayaking? Do we like fishing? Do we like improved boat launches? Do we like the idea of ecological restoration or things that can be done to result in cleaner water in the river for runoff and shoreline stabilization? So lots of these discussions took place, and I had been shopping. First of all, I really believe in this opportunity for Buchanan, and so do a lot of the people in my line of work. One of the things that I shopped to the federal, I had this all-day meeting where I had to basically pitch in different breakout rooms virtually, and I got a lot of excellent feedback from federal agencies, and their feedback was, you know, you guys really have a model here, a model that could be replicated by a lot of inland communities, which then results in best practice cleaner water that goes back into our Great Lakes. So it's an interesting opportunity. I was talking to Southwest Michigan Planning Commission, again, pitching the idea, Marcy Hamilton, and she suggested that I get in touch with a gentleman named Tony McGee from Abbenmarsh, professional engineers consulting firm. I did that. I'd worked with Abbenmarsh on several projects in my career. Tony immediately, he shares a passion for the St. Joseph River. He's a principal and business development manager for Abbenmarsh. And we discussed this opportunity of the city of Buchanan applying for the Michigan Sparks Grant, with phase one being improvements of the access road and maybe some boat launching. And so in our discussions, it's kind of like, it was basically a handshake. Tony said, Abbenmarsh will help you guys and be the professional consultant pro bono for your Michigan Sparks Grant. By the way, one of the best parts of the Michigan Sparks Grant, due date's December 19th, so it's coming up quickly, is that there's no match required. It's up to $1 million. We feel like we have a compelling project, so we're moving very quickly, and I wanted to get this in front of you so everyone knows what's going on. So I got a couple other so this is a slide. And now I'm going to ask the commission, because I want to do this in a really efficient manner. It's this copy. There's exhibits here, and you can follow along with me. Talked about the vision, talked about Abbenmarsh engineers. They've offered to assist us in the application preparation. Why is that important? Because you need professional engineers to create cost estimates for your application to be considered and be competitive. So you actually need engineers to work on this. So that's what we've been doing over the last several weeks. We've gotten engineering estimates for repaving access Riverfront Drive, the 0.3 mile access road. It's in terrible shape right now. That would include stormwater management improvements, swales. You got to engineer it the right way. Put the water where it needs to go. Right now, the water is creating issues that we're just band-aiding over and over. So we're fixing the road the right way. This estimate also includes paving boat launching, launch park area, so parking, river, the shoreline restoration, shoring up the erosion issues that are happening on the river, retaining wall. One thing was important to us is to show immediate access to the river. So we do have a fully accessible canoe and kayak launch in this grant application, vault toilets, timber pier, and an improved boat launch at skid pier. So this is kind of like the big picture, and I asked the engineers to go through and give me, you know, how much is this stuff gonna cost? And you can see this is another, right down here. This gives you another visual of what, again, conceptual. When we get the money, we can have more discussions about design and fine tuning. But if we don't submit the application, we have to just wait another year. And, you know, to be honest, these applications, sometimes they take, you don't get them on the first time, you get them on the second time. In our discussions, everyone really believes in this project. I can tell you, I won't stop until we get it. Maybe we will get it on the first time, but I never want to set that expectation. So this is the concept. And again, it's improvement of the access road. You can see there's parking, trailer parking, improved road access, shoreline restoration, swale and rain garden, kind of retention and detention areas. And this whole project came in, again, all those items I mentioned was 1.615 million. But the good news, and that, I asked them for that cost because I wanted to be able to tell you guys how much would it cost if we did everything, okay? Now, I realize that's a challenge. We have 2 fiscal years to make up that money. If you wanted, we could allocate some budget money to over and above the million, but we don't have to. We have a strong application. If we just move forward with the resolution as you have it tonight, which authorizes the city of Buchanan to apply for the Michigan Sparks Grant. Again, but, you know, moving quickly, we have the holidays. December 19th is the deadline. I'm right now working with Cala to get a lot of documents together.
Rich,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll make a motion. Go ahead.
I move to go forward with this, because, I mean, it is 2 years out. The river is an asset. And I move to approve Resolution 2022.11-432 as presented.
I'll support.
So just for clarification, we're not obligated on the 651 at this time, even
reason
if
I
we get
got-
awarded it?
Correct. The reason I got that number is because I wanted to explain to you guys what it would take if we did the full Monty, but I talked to the engineers today and I said, well, what would be a good play if we just dialed down to $1 million? They're like, phase it. So don't do the asphalt on the parking area, we gravel it until we get another round of DNR grants.
We're
So
just
there's a-
moving, we're just making, I just made the motion
Okay.
for you to do the
All right.
grant.
Yeah.
That's all
Do it.
I'm making the motion to do
I
the
get
grant.
to discuss.
We're not spending any money.
No, we're good.
I wanted to
No,
confirm
but
that.
there's an entire, another page
Yeah.
here with 651,000 matching funds, so
Yeah.
I think it's worth discussing.
Yeah, I do too.
That is the entire project if we were to do all the items I listed, which is this one.
So let me just ask Heather this. Heather, what's your idea on that 651 match in order to do the entire project?
So a resolution can always be voted to be taken back by another vote of the city commission, and we're not, I mean, they don't like us to view it that way, but we're not technically obligated to continue until we have signed on the dotted line that they've said, yes, we want to give you the grant, and then we sign saying we agree to accept it and also provide this match. So at this point, I mean, it's I don't want to say it's a soft obligation, but in reality, it kind of is, if that makes sense.
Although the grant I think you have in front of you is the grant just that I'm applying for $1 million.
Correct.
I did have a second resolution that basically says, let's look for $651,000 over the next 2 fiscal years. And then I got here, this morning I was like, well, I just need to explain all this tonight. Because we have the flexibility to do those projects if we found other money. At this point, I kind of feel better because I double checked. We're not gonna get kind of points taken away if we don't have a match. That's not the way this grant, in fact, this grant was designed to be the reverse, like to be available for those communities that didn't have,
We don't
You know,
even
that-
know if we're gonna get accepted.
those matching
Right, and if we do
So
get,
this-
ex-
But we should
if we
go-
do get
This is
accepted,
practice.
then we have
For a
2
million
years,
bucks.
2 years to
This is
fund the
practice for $1 million.
650.
Damn.
Right. I agree.
I agree. Are there any other questions? We have a motion, we have a second?
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Money,
Yes.
Swam.
Yes.
Carried.
okay, thank you, appreciate that. Next item I have before you is a facade grant for 101 to 103 Days Avenue by Roland Property Group. You've heard me talk about this project a lot. It's the project that I get here in the morning and take the left on Days and find out what they've done since I was here last, and it's exciting for me. In economic development, there's no more exciting project than when the largest vacant building downtown gets a full rehabilitation with the restaurateurs that they're talking about bringing in, and with the quality of development that I'm seeing throughout this project. So we do have this before you. Michael Rowland is here this evening, but I want to explain one thing. We have been through the design review committee, had really an excellent meeting last week, I think it was, where it was unanimously approved as submitted with the elevations and facade. One thing in this case, and I just wanted to take a minute to explain this is technically 2 facades. It's 103, 101, and 103. Both are, not to mention 101's one of the largest buildings downtown. 103 was one of the worst conditioned buildings downtown. So our wish is to ask for a facade grant for each of those buildings, given the large amount of investment that the Roland Property Group is taking on in Buchanan. Most of the work has been submitted to you. It's windows and facade work, expensive windows, expensive facade work. I think their grand total was over $39,000, and he has much more than that, but he's just submitting what would get him to the maximum grant amount. So I don't know, Michael, if you want to add anything to what I've said? Yeah.
Well, as Richard mentioned, I'm Michael Rowland. I'm one of the principals in Rowland Property Group. I'm also the CEO of Michigan Gateway Community Foundation. But the only reason I mention that is the reason my wife and I bought this property was to make a difference in the community, to create a better future for our kids. And as anybody that's driven by this, or anybody that's lived in this town in the last 100 and some years, knows that the property was in a great deal of disarray. We didn't get into this as a money-making venture because it's going to take a very, very, very long time for us to ever recoup our money. For instance, 103, as Rich mentioned, that had no floor in it. That had no roof in it. We replaced the entire back of it. We bought a brick wall, most of which we have to take out and replace, just on the front facade. In addition to that, we're replacing all the windows. One of the things that was important to my wife and I is when you pass it, you probably notice the prism glass above some of the storefronts. That's an original architectural piece of our city. It was buried for generations. Really until Alan Robont uncovered it on his building, and then later Canada Vista, did we even know that was part of our history, part of the architectural history of our community. So that was also covered on our building. We were able to recover it, restore it. We're doing everything in our power, from restoring the windows to original, to keeping the tin ceilings despite it having to be taken down and then reapplied because of fire code. We're really doing this in a way that is long-lasting and gives credence to our history and creates a better future From a tenant standpoint, we went out and we knew we had to get a premier restaurant, something that our community would not only enjoy, but something that would also bring people from out of town. So that's why we partnered with Buchanan Craft, probably the most successful brand in our community. Really an organization that started the day we shut down for COVID and has turned into one of the nicest restaurants in our community. So working with them, we have a valued partner with good liquidity. The front area, we're not really ready to announce yet, but that is a partner that has good liquidity. Again, another walking business. That was our main objective with this. We could have thrown in anything to make money, and that's not what we did. We waited to make sure we put organizations in there that would create walking traffic to create a destination for our community. So with that comes a lot of extra costs that you normally wouldn't have. We don't have to recreate the prism glass. We don't have to recreate the ornate woodwork. Those are things that we're choosing to do because it's the right thing to do. And we have great partners. Our general contractor is here in the room today. He's a magician. The things he's been able to do for us is amazing. And then, Rich as well, being able to come down and walk through our property, the commission. You guys have came and take a look at the property. So I hope everyone understands where I'm coming from with this, that it's a pivotal project in our community that will be a turning point for us. It's been said many times before that we're not back online until 101 and 103 days is back online. We're really close. So this would push us over the edge. As Rich mentioned, this is just for the glass work around the building. There's a lot of projects facade-wise that this is also going to help catapult us that this isn't paying for. This provides us enough flexibility to work with the American Legion to bring back the Buchanan Hall of Fame, which for generations was on the front of our building. It was a lighted piece that the Legion had the forethought and they went and saved all these things. They're great. If you get a chance to go look at them, it's our history of heroes in our community, people that fought in wars that met the world to how we got here today. So recreating that and giving something that is a walking piece for our town. You see a lot of facade work in communities where they do murals, where they put artwork up, where they do different lighting things. This is not only going to create a lot of those pieces, but create the public piece with the Buchanan Hall of Fame as well. And that's all outside of the fact that we're redoing, Ralph, how many windows are there upstairs? 22 original windows that we have to recreate and repair and make them look just like they did in 1889. So I thank you for the consideration, and regardless of how it comes out, I know we have a new commissioner. I'd love to have you out to look at the property as well to see what we're doing. And if anybody else in the community would like to see too, we have an open door. Literally most of the time it's unlocked. So, yes, Dan.
How many grants are you eligible for? How many more grants are you eligible for from the city?
I believe this would be it. These are all the available grants that when the city council came out with development opportunities. From my understanding, it's all available for me. We are going to the state level and going through historical. We can't really do historical tax credits because of a wide array of boring reasons that no one wants to hear, but we are working with the MEDC to find other granting opportunities as well. Because this is phase one, we have a lot of really great plans for the property as well. Like, one day we'd love to have a rooftop deck above 103. We have great expansion opportunities for the restaurant. There's a lot of things we have in the future, but it's all based on budget. It's all based on what we can actually accomplish. So we have a really strong proposal for phase one that's going to get it back online, make it beautiful, and make it operating with a lot of activity. Upstairs too, being Airbnb is allowing us to create a hospitality element in our town too that just hasn't been here. As far as I know, there are no other grants for us to apply for through the city commission. If there were in the future and we were tapped out, we would understand. We're pushing every button we have to get to the finish line, and I think everybody else in the community is pushing us along as well. Yeah.
Can I just add something to that? Because the ask is, can we? We're asking for permission for 10,000 for 101 and 10,000 for 103, 2 facades. I double-checked, it's eligible. He's provided the documentation. The next agenda item is the restaurant. So he's buying restaurant equipment, hood, exhaust material for the restaurant concept. However, he does have another retail facility downtown. If he were to bring in another restaurant, the rules say he would be able to apply, or that restaurateur could apply. Because the whole idea is, if the grant creates the restaurant, then it did its job. So that is, I just want to clarify that.
Well, as long as you're on that point, Rich,
Yeah.
what is our strategic plan for actually going forward with the way we're marketing our city? Are we marketing our city locally? And I mean, this is nothing against you, you know, and I'm brand new, and I ask straightforward questions. Are we marketing to the city, inhabitants of the city, or are we going to, and this question will come up again, when we start talking about selling our properties, are we gonna find a real estate agent, or are we marketing in South Bend, or are we marketing in Chicago?
Yeah, so I'll answer that. My strategy is always to market to both. You gotta market to your own town because you can build community pride, and you need consensus behind the vision. I think we're doing a very good job of that. We're also marketing regionally, and to the metro areas. Why? Because that's what we need to do to bring in economic energy. And we're doing a very good job at that. And a lot of it is the strategy that we picked, and I can just tell you, I've been doing this for about 15 years. We get really good video, short video footage that's heartfelt, that captures the essence of the community, and then we pump it out on social media because it's cheap to do that, and it works, and it's working right now. So our reach right now, you know, we're a community that is local with visitors, but we have a really big reach for a small town right now on all the social media channels. I mean, our marketing punch is strong right now. We are getting noticed.
Have you got numbers for what our reach actually is? Is it like
We have-
radio?
We have analytics on social media that I
I'll
can
get with
get
you later on them. then.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Can I add one thing on the restaurant grant? The only reason Roland Property Group is involved with the restaurant grant piece of it is because we have a business relationship with Buchanan Craft that's not just a regular lessee-lessor relationship. Because of that, we've agreed to purchase all the restaurant equipment. We will not be entering into another relationship with that on this building. So any grants you get from a business for restaurant equipment or anything like that in the front wouldn't be coming from us. And the tenant that we have that we're moving forward with at the moment is not a restaurant. So I would not expect that to actually come.
However, if we got a gentleman who has really good tacos that needs some restaurant equipment, he would be eligible. So, or a gentle lady. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Someone like to make a motion?
This is money. I'd move to approve the facade grant for 101, 103 days as presented.
Thank you. Is there support?
I'll support.
Thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Whedon,
Yes.
Bianski,
Yes.
Money,
Yes.
Swam,
Abstain, business interest.
Thank you.
Dennison,
Yes.
carries.
And I'm just clarifying, it's one grant for 101, one grant for 103.
103, correct.
Next item is restaurant improvement grant. Same, this is Roland Property Group in conjunction with Buchanan Craft. And they purchased an extensive amount of restaurant equipment, as you've seen in the invoice. Again, the application's been properly prepared, and my recommendation is approval for the full allowed amount of $10,000. They've submitted in excess of $39,000 in invoices.
I would move to approve the restaurant improvement grant for 101, 103 days as presented. Is there support?
I'll support that.
Thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Bianski,
Yes.
Money,
Yes.
Swam,
Abstain, business interest.
Dennison,
Yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
carries.
Next item is
Needs to be done.
city-owned properties, if I may continue. I think about a month ago, I presented a list of redevelopment properties to you. These were properties that were discussed at Vision of Buchanan throughout the whole process. Some are redevelopment properties, some are redevelopment commercial, redevelopment industrial, some are lots that the city has acquired over the years, either by tax sale or otherwise. But they could be interesting infill developments, some are residential neighborhoods. So I presented what I thought were the most ready-to-go lots, and what mainly not controversial or anything, the ones that are kind of ready to go, and maybe the best opportunities. Since then, we have taken another look at all of the city-owned properties. So we ran a report, what do we own? And myself with my staff have taken about the last week, it was a beautiful week last week, and we took a lot of photos, and we drove, and we went through every single item on this report, and we made a new priority list that resulted in a handful of more properties that could be considered. However, a lot of the properties were, like, you'd see a PIN number, and it's the common, okay? We're not interested in doing anything with the common's good, or an alley, or a park, or a street right-of-way. So we went through that just to be very thorough. Now we've taken pictures of all the properties. Did that on a couple beautiful days last week. And we're in the midst of creating a marketing package. So we're going to take each property, we're going to categorize it, we're going to pull in the Beacon aerial or Google Earth aerial, whichever works best. We're going to get a good marketing photograph, and then we're going to basically list distinguishing characteristics or about the property. We're going to use the Buchanan marketing style and font and branding of it so that it all ties in with our marketing plan. And then we're going to be able to use this information interchangeably, whether it's in an RFP that the city releases when we decide what is going to be our first kind of interaction with the market, or it could be social media posts about opportunities on redevelopment or infill development in Buchanan. So we're in the middle of working on this, and we're going to have this before you, after the first of the year, I would say. And then we can move into the gear of going to the marketplace with these RFPs that we've been discussing. So that's an update on that.
Are we gonna deal with a real estate agent? Or are we gonna do this through City Hall? Are we gonna market this through a real estate agent, or are you gonna do this?
Well, I mean, I haven't made that decision. I have real estate agents calling me now. A lot of people are interested, and that's good. But as far as,
Why
how
would
we
you
approach
do
it,
it?
that's up for discussion.
Why would you do it?
I wouldn't. I work for you, so you tell me how to do it, how you prefer, and I'll do it
I
that way.
want a Chicago real estate agent, or a South Bend real estate agent. I want a Chicago real estate agent, or I want a South Bend real estate agent.
Mhm.
I don't want a local real estate agent.
I want to see Rich's strategy before I make that
I mean, that
decision.
we
So-
haven't had those deep discussions yet on what we were going to do, because we're
Dan, it's
kind of
been
waiting
brought up, though.
to
Sorry, Tom.
finalize the list, and
It has been
Our-
discussed before.
Our marketing net will be regional, national, why not?
But I mean,
Gotta think
if we bring in a real estate agent, we're gonna push this along faster for you, because they'll come in here, and you can tell them what properties you wanna do and what you wanna do with them. I mean, right now, we're waiting 2 months, and then another month to make a decision.
I don't disagree with you. I don't know how the
And the
rest of
real
them feel.
estate agent would take the load completely off of you
Yeah, do you
for
know-
10% on commercial property.
What do you want on those sites?
Yeah,
What does
that's
it
the
matter?
question.
It does
It
matter.
does
I
matter.
think
It
it does
does.
matter.
It's
It's
vitally
an
important.
incredibly
Well, you
important
don't have a
piece.
list of stuff you want on them by now?
That's
we
what we're
haven't
asking
even
Rich to
finalized,
provide.
that's what we're saying, though, we haven't even he's just finalizing the list.
We've
Like,
owned this property for 6 years plus.
well,
Well, I'll
there's a
tell you,
lot of things that we've had for 6 years plus that we've been trying to fix.
No one's ever
so-
gone through the list like we have, every single line item. We know what we own. I mean, every property has, you know, there could be controversial aspects of a property, you know?
Dan, I
You
think
might
to
think
your,
you
to
could sell
his,
it.
Dan, to your defense, and I'm supportive of that, but I think what the apprehension is from the other commissioners, that I think we want to build and allow Rich to continue with the marketing arm of it until he's established what we would like to see there potentially, right? Because it doesn't mean that is what's going to be there. And then be in connection
I
with
gotta
a
go old
realtor.
school on this, Mark. Wish in this hand, use your imagination in this hand.
Well-
Because the thing about it is you can want and you can wish for whatever you want, but if you ain't got people coming in to do that, because you don't have whatever you
But-
don't have.
But just because we don't have them right now doesn't mean we can't get them. The first thing we have to do is our due diligence and figure out what we have, what we're willing to put on it, and then move forward. I mean, we can't get the cart in front of the
I'm
horse.
willing to
Yep.
hear, one of the things, for example, there's environmental issues with some of this land, we're working to resolve those. On some of the Clark-owned land, there's restrictive covenants, I have to get those off there.
But your real estate agent would do that.
No, they
But it-
wouldn't. They don't have those kind of qualifications. You gotta go to Ingersoll Rand and get that stuff approved. Do you know any real estate agent that knows how to get in front of them? That's
You
attorneys.
have commercial real estate agents that
You
would at least
clearly
be a
don't
company
understand
that
this
would
space.
help.
But I
Don't
can-
tell me I don't
But
understand.
I can bring some of this, I can bring you up to date on some of this stuff later, honestly. That'll
Well,
make
the
a
other-
little
refrain your
bit more
commissioners
clear.
from
The
telling
other
me I
thing
don't
is,
understand.
I think
let's-
Patrick
He
mentioned.
told me I wasn't qualified at something
Let's,
earlier.
let's
Move on?
let him
Yep.
complete his report, please.
All right, there's an update on that. Zoning ordinance project. So, you might remember, early May, we've engaged with placemakers, zoning consultants to look at overhaul our zoning ordinance. They came in early May. We had a series of stakeholder meetings. We had a joint public meeting with the commission, Plan Commission and Barb. We talked to various downtown group, north side neighbors, preservationists and other stakeholders, and we got a lot of feedback about the zoning ordinance. There was a city roundtable meeting with the consultants. Since then, over the summer, there's been a lot of work behind the scenes crafting the first draft of the zoning ordinance. That is now in the hands of the Plan Commission. They're taking a look at it, the first draft review, and we're going to discuss that tomorrow night at the Plan Commission meeting. On December 6th, the zoning team will be coming back to Buchanan for, again, an entire day of stakeholder meetings. December 6th, we're going to do it the way we did before, where we meetings basically the entire day through the evening, talk to everybody we can. I do propose that we call another joint Plan Commission, City Commission, Barb meeting, so that we can walk through the first draft, explain the changes, any changes that have been proposed, where certain sections were before, where will they be in the new document, as well as how the document will guide the vision for Buchanan. So I'm asking for that meeting December 6th, at 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, and I wanted to keep everyone updated on that. Right now, one of the things I'm going to propose is also to meet with the chairman of the Plan Commission, Jason Leitz, who has a lot of technical knowledge on zoning, and get his feedback. We plan to do that on December 6th as well. But that's just a general update on the zoning project that's moving forward. Last item is grants update. So earlier this year, McCoy's Creek Trail was awarded $340,000 from MDOT. We resubmitted to State of Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund for an additional $300,000. We have gotten to the point where we're waiting to hear on that grant. I can tell you that we did our best and we left no point unearned. It was really a really great effort from the team, which includes a lot of people that have been working on this for over a year, including Whiteman Engineers and people from River St. Joe Brewery and Jerry Flenner, of course, who was responsible for raising about almost $200,000 of private funds for this project. So we are waiting to hear the update on that, and we'll let you know when we hear. Additionally, kind of goes back to the first item. I know you don't want to go back there, but this Sparks grant. I asked Tony McGee from Avonmarsh to prepare a proposal on a strategic master plan for the riverfront. He did that, and AEP, I submitted it to AEP for a large grant request, and I'm told that it's being very seriously considered at this point to fund the entire amount, which is, I think, about $35,000. So I will be updating you on that, but essentially, two grants that I'm talking about that the city doesn't have to pay anything for, that has come from the Sparks opportunity and the AEP large grant. You remember AEP was very generous with us last year when they awarded us $50,000 towards the McCoy's Creek Trail. So we further developed a very good relationship with them. They, in their corporate offices, were here all day today. I gave them a tour of Buchanan and showed them an update on the vision. So I'll be in touch with those two grants soon. You never know on grants, but we'll just keep going at it. And that's part of this master plan is the engineer will be able to put costs behind everything, and we will just resubmit every time, whether it's Fish or Wildlife or Natural Resources Trust Fund or DNR, and we'll be ready to do so because we've done the legwork for our master plan. That's all I have.
Keep up the good work, Rich.
Thanks, Rich.
Okay, moving down to C, Public Services Report.
So I have a bunch of broken equipment to report on, is about all I have. My sweeper, they had an estimate done by AIS on the engine. They're looking into a lift pump, we were having trouble starting it. So they're looking into a lift pump for our fuel pump on our sweeper as well as all the list of other things.
Did you get it back, or is
Yeah,
it
that
still
was
gone?
my question.
No, it's still gone.
It's still there, and they keep finding things wrong with it? Is that
Yes,
what-
yeah. So, which was our concern in the first place, so. The baler, as everyone has not seen it on the street, has broken down. We replaced a threading needle. Someone put a piece of angle iron in a pile. It went through, ruined a threading needle. We replaced it, made 2 bales, and I don't know if it's out of time now or what, but it packed all 5 threading needles, which are not fun or not cheap to replace. So, other than that, business is normal. We're picking up leaves with our front end loader and our backhoe, which I really do not like doing. It ruins my buckets. It's really hard on the equipment. It ruins tires. We found a catch basin collapse down on Front Street end of last week, and we'll be repairing that probably tomorrow. So that's where we're at with my stuff. Lots of leaves, lots of snow. We prepared for snow today. My salt truck I took over 2 months ago to have some issues resolved, and I don't have it back yet. They can't get parts. So we put together our little backup tornado on our pickup truck today in hopes that it doesn't snow enough to where we have to use it. So we are as prepared as we can be for snow. So plows are on, we're ready. Trucks are fueled, ready to go.
When I was at the tree planting on this past Saturday, I was informed that the auger is broken and they weren't able to use it to dig holes.
The auger is not broken, it only runs backwards because of the way that our backhoe is set up. When we bought the auger, we bought the cat auger because it was gonna hook right up to our machine and work, correct? That's why we went through all that, that's why I did all the research and had the fights on the phone and everything else. It hooks up, it runs backwards, apparently there's a valve. Annie just asked me about it today. I got an email today, I opened it here. It's about $5,000 to put this valve on that I need to run this auger,
Why can't you just run it backwards?
because the auger won't work backwards. It only works
It's
one
like-
way.
It's like
It's gotta go
drilling a
down
hole.
and then come up.
The left-handed drill bit.
We waited months for the drill bit we got. I doubt that there's a left-handed drill bit that we can get.
I do have a question for you.
Yes,
This is on the American Legion side. When are you gonna take that flag down
tomorrow.
so it doesn't get ruined?
Yes, tomorrow
Thank you.
morning, we will take it down. So, lots going on. We got a lot of decorating for Christmas to do this week. I assume on Wednesday, I think is when we're doing it. So,
See you there.
yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
thank you. Moving on to item D, the Public Safety Report, Director Tim Gaines.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Congratulations to the elected commissioners. Usually I stand in front of you and talk about the police department, but tonight I get to talk about the other part of my job, or at least the fire chief does. So I'm going to have the fire chief come up here and talk about some of the things that's been going on with the fire department, how they're making an impact into our community with our kids, and just kind of seeing a little bit of what our fire department does just over the last month of October. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Fireman Mike Adams.
Mayor, Commissioners. Tim asked me to talk about last month. Everybody knows October usually is fire prevention. It's actually a week in October. All the fire departments across the county or across the country spend a lot of time with public education. And communities like ours that are smaller, don't have full-time staff, we have to spread that across the month, because we can't fill a lot of those things in one week. So we work with the schools, because we do a lot of work with the schools, and schedule when we can do the activities that works for them and works for us. So that's kind of how we work it, but it is a pretty busy month for us. I mean, we do a lot of interactivity with the public and the schools. And so I have a list here of what we did for October. So on the 6th, we had attended one of the fire drills at the high school. We don't go to all the fire drills, but we do try to periodically show up and be there to verify that they're following the protocol, that the fire doors or the different fire protection equipment is working properly. So we did do that. On the 8th, we attended the library pumpkin jamboree. That's something where we go and have a couple of our members go, and they'll support with running some of the activities or the games. We also provide water for some of the games, because there's some different types of water activities. I wasn't at this one, so I don't know what that was, but we did have people there. We also, on the 12th, went to the library fire prevention public ed. That's where we'll go, and we'll bring a truck. We'll actually go in the library. Excuse me. We'll read. We have several different books we read. The age group there can be very young or up to elementary school. And so we'll read a couple different books, and then we go over some of the fire prevention stuff that we'd normally go, show them gear, show them the truck, that kind of thing. So that was the library. On the 20th, we did the preschool and the kindergarten, and that's where we go to the schools. And back when Larry Money actually is the one we took over fire prevention from many, many years ago, myself and Bob, we used to have the preschoolers would come to the fire station. And that was a tradition we'd been doing, carried on for years until COVID. Obviously, COVID stopped a lot of things. But after this year, we did both kindergarten and preschool together in one day, which was a full day to try to do it all. But the hopes are to get to next year to go back to where we go to the schools for one day and bring the other kids to the station like we used to, because it was a great tradition. They used to walk to the school. They identify fire hydrants and different things on the way down, so when they got there we could quiz them and just do things like that. So we're hoping that'll come back, but we did kind of we've been doing that the last couple of years now that COVID's kind of on the back seat, I should say. So that was on the 20th, and then on 25th we did the happiness train. I don't know if everybody's familiar with that. That's at the church there on Moxon and 3rd. And they have basically a young fives or preschool school there, and we go there every year, kind of the same thing. We, bring the truck and talk to them, read to them, and take them out and go over the truck and different things with them. So that was good. We also, on the 29th, supported the trail treat, which obviously the city does a great job with that, and we always have a couple people out there supporting that. And then on Halloween night, we get a lot of the leftover candy from the city, so we have with our partners and police and EMS, if they can show up, we give away candy out there at the front on Front Street. So we stay pretty busy. There's quite a few things for us to do, but stay pretty busy. And then this month, we do have the blood drive. Bob Blaylock's been supporting that for several years with the American Red Cross. So that's on the 23rd of this month. We'll be supporting a blood drive. So that's just kind of a rundown of the month. Like I say, it stays pretty busy, but it's always worth it. Whenever you're out there with the children, it's a targeted group. Obviously, most time it's an age group from 4 to 10, but there's no age limit. We've done fire prevention for middle schoolers before, or even went to adult places like Bob goes to the senior center, we talk there. Obviously it's a little different than when we're talking to children, but it's just something that we try to do. We try to do that all year, but obviously October is the focus. And that concludes my report.
Great. Any questions?
No, I just want to thank Mike, because the people in here that don't have young children that are in the schools anymore, they don't understand what all the fire department does. When Mike talked about the education program back when Bobby Blaylock, Dave Hess, and myself basically took it to the schools, it was kind of, it just didn't happen. We gave a fire truck ride, and that was basically it. This new group with this chief and the assistant chief and the young firefighters that they have there now, they spend a lot of time that the city doesn't really see. And I know I appreciate everything that they did. I know the building is in a little bit of a disarray, and it's hard to do the pancake breakfasts and stuff like they used to do. But like I said, we need to support that entity in our community, because they do hold a high rating as far as a fire rating goes. And like I said, I appreciate Mike and all of his crew for everything that they do. Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Yanis. All right, moving down to Finance Department report.
I don't have a formal report for you tonight in light of the audit presentation. That is a big piece of literature. I hope you take the time to look through and try and understand. And if you have any questions, you let us know. Do you want to update you on their chart of accounts change? The SMA is calling me tomorrow morning and getting a final backup of our data, and they'll be moving to convert our chart of accounts over, so that we'll have new numbers, new accounts, and then Heather and I will take on the task of switching the budget over to the new numbers for you. So if you have any questions, just let me know.
Deb, I got to meet you the other day, and I asked you to be very mean. I went and started looking. I found a horsewhip, and I'll buy a box of cigars, and I think I got a straw hat. But I don't want anything coming across your desk where you ain't horsewhipping everybody, because there's no such thing as an emergency. Somebody screwed up somewhere. So we need to stop the emergency spending. So you can be as wicked as you want to be, as far as I'm concerned, and I hope you are.
I'll work on that.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that's the end of the reports. We have no unfinished business. We have no new business. Communications?
None this evening.
Okay, let's move on to public comment on non-agenda items only. If you'd like to make a public comment, please make your way to the podium and state your name for the minutes, sir.
Where's Norma? It's cold out.
Don Ryman, 313 West Front Street, Buchanan. I heard you talking about the city charter. That city charter was adopted in 1949 and has never been amended. Well, that says a good thing for it. The city has run very well on the city charter all that time. It was patterned after the original city charter of Dayton, Ohio. After the 1913 flood, they set up the Dayton Conservancy District. They've never had a flood, and they've had a good city government in Dayton. I know about that because I practiced law in Dayton for 2 years before I came to Buchanan. Well, in any event, though, there are some things that probably have not been addressed in that period of time. For example, I think if you look at the charter, it says the city commissioners only get $150 a year. Now, somebody has worked it so that you pay yourself more, and that's up to the city attorney. That's one of the things. Also, the city can't sell property without a vote of all the residents of the city. And that, in the past, was a problem. So if you're going to get into looking at the city charter, I'd say, well, some of these things might be looked into.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
that, Don, for sure.
Anyone else wish to make a public comment?
You know, 73-year run is pretty good.
Fast on that math.
Uh-oh.
Are you working on 95 now? What are you working on, 105?
98.
We have speakers, please.
Good evening. Stacy Dennison, 506 Middleton Court. I don't know that I can follow Don's public comments. I should have raced you to the podium. First of all, I want to just happen to be here when the fire department was here speaking about the programs that they do at our school. So this was perfect timing on my part. Just to piggyback on what Larry was saying, the fire department, Mike and Bobby, they work seamlessly with us to bring programs to the schools. And yes, you will be getting the preschoolers back at the fire station next year. COVID did throw a wrench in things. We did have a program set up in our north parking lot that brought the police department, the fire department. There were stations that the kids could travel around to in the last couple of years. That's kind of been pushed on the back burner, but we are working at bringing those things back. I put a horrible schedule in front of Bobby this year. And Mike, were you there too at the school? But it was back to back to back, but it got all the kids out there, got them to see the fire trucks, the uniforms, and just got some good fire education. It was quick. When I told Bobby I only had 15 minutes per group, he was like, what? Because we all know Bobby, and he could probably do an hour with each group. So I am just here to, my comments will be brief. I just have some leadership comments that lend well to the seats that you're all sitting in, seeing that I'm in a leadership position as well, being principal at Ottawa. I'm responsible for 300 students, 40 staff members, and I can tell you from my own experiences that leadership can be fantastically rewarding, but it can also be a very lonely and thankless position. Sometimes focuses on what others think you could be doing better or what you're doing wrong without all the right information or caring to ask the questions and the reasoning behind decisions. And you also know in this position that you can't please everyone all the time. So if anyone has the recipe to that secret sauce, meet me outside after this meeting because we need to talk. I've heard comments to me like, I don't know how you do it, or I never want that position, and leadership is just, it's not easy. And no one will ever truly or fully understand the type of work that it takes until you've walked that walk. So I am here tonight just to make known that I think most people don't realize the sacrifices and the time and hard work, unpaid hours that you put into these positions to serve the city. And I've seen it firsthand. Our family has been doing the city commission life now for 4 years, so we're living it. And I know firsthand all the extras, the sacrifices that you make. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for all that you do, including your families as well. Don't forget us. at home when you're here at meetings for 3 hours once a month. And also to those that stepped up to put their names on the ballot this election. That takes time and energy as well. So just know that your efforts are appreciated, and thank you for serving our community.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to make a public comment? Going once, going twice. Okay, city manager comments.
So I usually thank everybody for attending, and I'll start by doing that, but I want to go beyond that. I want to thank everyone who participated in our elections, obviously, but everyone who participates in being a citizen and a community member, and that can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. We have a great community in that everyone is actually a true neighbor to each other. We do things for others when we don't need to. We think of others when we aren't required to. And I really like to see that we are leaning in towards that as a community. That's why I want to stay here with my family. I think that's all why we love Buchanan. And I charge the commissioners, elected and reelected, to keep that in mind, and I know that you do. And I want to thank you for keeping that in the bottom of your hearts when you make these very tough decisions that are forced upon you. And as noted, not everyone in the public always sees what goes on behind the scenes. There's always a lot more context that, there's just not time to explain to everybody. So I want to make sure that everyone keeps in mind that when elected officials are asked to make difficult decisions, that we all remember that they are difficult decisions and that we can all respectfully disagree with each other, but that bottom line of being respectful and being a friend and a neighbor to everyone needs to stay in our hearts. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Whedon?
Seems like we're here again. First and foremost, congratulations to the individuals who won. For the individuals who ran, as Tony stated earlier, that it's all for naught. It is not all for naught. I think that they ran a good race. They put their name out there. They put their name on the line, and they could have easily been sitting here just as anybody else could have. So thank you for running. Congratulations to Sean and Dan for winning as well. And looking forward to the next 4 years. Thank you for the vote for Mayor Pro Tem. Look forward to supporting Sean and his decisions, and continued discussions about ways that we can make Buchanan better. Tim, congratulations on your new officer. You continue to prove to many other communities. Harvey, sorry, my fault. Too many years. He's like, I understand. I understand. You continue to prove to other communities that through diversity of your staff and the way that you guys treat each other as brothers and sisters of law enforcement, that you set the bar very high. And that's the reason that people want to be in this community, and I thank you for that. You continue to make us proud of our police department, and it's really second to none. There's very few officers that are respected the way that your team is. So thank you for that, and continue to do the same. I don't have any doubt you will. Chief, thank you for bringing light to all you do for the children and the fire prevention and education that you give to the community. And I hope that has some benefits in the long term when they look to their future and they see that, I want to be like that guy or that gal who's protecting our families throughout this community. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody who visited tonight. I know there's some who've already left, but we do actually like to have a full house. I think it makes it a little more interesting. And when we first all got here this evening, we were a little worried because it was pretty empty. So Michael Rowland and your family and team and Ralph and gosh, there's a list, right, of what you do, and we can't be more appreciative. I'm sure that you hear it all the time. So thank you so much for what you've done. And to Ms. Dennison for what you said about leadership. That is absolutely, and you can ask around, that's one thing that's extremely important to me. I probably get more excited about that than anything, because there's one thing that we don't do in this world is we do not teach people how to be leaders. We put them in a position, we give them a title, and I can guarantee 100% that most people have zero clue how to run that program. It takes them being in connection with great people who teach them. They've got to do a lot of self-education and really push forward on that and really take it as a personal vendetta to learn those processes. One key component to that is communication. We cannot over-communicate when you're in a leadership role. You have to communicate. You've got to keep the people who are in your leadership team abreast of everything that's happening, and if you're not, I can guarantee failure is imminent. Thank you.
Commissioner Swem?
Yeah, I don't wanna have to repeat everything there. You did a great job. Eloquent, you're very eloquent. No, congratulations to election winners. I'm really looking forward to serving with this group for my next 2 years before I'm up for re-election. I think that's the key piece. Let's continue to keep the lines of communication highly open and work together, and let's get more accomplished this next 2 years while we're here together. Thank you.
Commissioner Viancy.
I gotta say thank you to my wife, 6 of my 14 grandchildren, my 2 brothers, and my youngest daughter, Kiani, for handing out 3,000 door hangers. Alan for pushing me to buy them, Alan Robrandt, as we all know. I want to thank Joe for furnishing the donuts or the rolls or what were they called? Cabana? No. Cannolis. Oh, Joe will be so mad at me, but he gave me a dozen cannolis and cut them in half, and they were really good. I really wanted to kind of be a smart aleck and thank City Hall for making me so mad that I wanted this no matter what, and I got it. And I'm gonna toot my own horn on it. I got it, against all odds. Thank you to the staff that come in here on your own dime. I might be your favorite guy and I might be your worst enemy, but you'll remember me. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Mr. Money.
Well, I'll reiterate everything that Mark said, and congratulations to Mark, Sean, and Dan, Tony, and Monroe. Great job. Keep it up. The community needs that. We do these things because we like living in Buchanan. So thank you for being there and being out there for us. Congratulations to Sean on his new position and Mark as the Mayor Pro Tem. Hoping that our jobs continue on and we can all work in agreement like we have in the past since I've been here. Kala, great job on the elections this year. I know you and your committee spent a lot of hours here. Thank you for that. Thank you for the city staff for being here, like Dan said, on your own dime. We appreciate everything that you do, even Mike Baker. So everything that he's doing out there to keep the city neat, clean. Just truly appreciate all the hard work. I know I get to see him coming and going quite a bit. So that's really appreciative. And these gentlemen sitting over here, they're always at my forefront because they do a lot for the city, and a lot of times we don't notice them or see them, but they do a great job for the city. And congratulations to your new officer, Mr. Reed. I hope I get to shake his hand, not because he stopped me on the streets for speeding home or reaching down for my phone again or something like that, crossing the center line, but that's great.
Or vehicular manslaughter.
Read the license plate, Al
Crossing
Money.
the center line.
So, yeah.
Vehicular manslaughter? What
Yeah.
else are you looking for there? I don't know.
So, yeah, just once again, let it be known that I appreciate this commission and this city hall and everything that they do, and all the people that come out to help support us. So thank you very much. And that's all I got.
Thank you. I lie awake at night thinking about some of the questions that come in front of us all the time, and I was thinking last night, whenever the high school is handing out herd shirts or it's bringing canned good to school day, we get an email, a phone call, and a text. And I keep dreaming of the day that Norma was sitting here during the candidate forum screaming at us about how we can communicate better, and can't we easily get an instant alert system put in for the city where we could get people to sign up and then tell them, hey, the street's closed, or hey, City Hall is closing early today, or...
That's actually the app that's going to be coming out in the next couple of weeks.
Perfect. I'm like 3 days behind you, but I appreciate it. Okay. I wanted to thank the Tree Friends for their hard work and continuing to beautify the city. You know, Saturday was an ugly day, but they were out there killing it. You guys were planting trees, and appreciate all that work. I too wanted to thank our city clerk, Cal, and all the poll workers who did such an incredible job carrying out our election last week. I appreciate all the hours you spent preparing and testing and making it go off without a hitch. Thank you very, very much. It's important work, and you did a fantastic job. I'd like to tell my fellow commissioners that I wish them the best of luck, and I look forward to working with you. And that is all I have for this evening. I would take a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Support.
He's messing it all up, and he
Just
Mike,
we'll start a new trend.
Yes.
Swem,
Yes.
Dennison,
yes.
Whedon,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
you're adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everybody.
Especially you two back there who